95. اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم قالوا یا ذوالقرنین ان یاجوج و ماجوج مفسدون فی الارض فہل نجعل لک خرجا علی ان تجعل بیننا و بینہم سدا. The translation is, they said, O Zulqarnain, verily Gog and Magog are creating disorder in the earth. Shall we then pay thee tribute on condition that you set up a barrier between us and them?
Zulqarnain is a term of the Holy Quran which applies to the past as well as to the time when the revelation was made, as well as to the future. This is the example of fasad or balaghat of the Holy Quran. That in one incident it has covered historical facts and the reality, the ultimate reality of the word Zulqarnain and how it will be manifested in relation to what was to come in the future. So this question is a very big question you have asked. I have been answering it many times before, but I will try to answer it briefly once again. As far as the history goes, Cyrus is known to be the Zulqarnain. He has been declared Zulqarnain particularly after the deep study of history and the Quran by Hazrat Muslim. He claimed that it had to be Cyrus because he is a great king who created barriers between different people so that one could not transgress against the other. So in history he traveled far and wide towards east and did this work. So also his Hazrat Muslim considers him to be Cyrus, the Zulqarnain, because he is very highly praised in the Bible. And he was the believer in one God. And as such, Bible mentions him even before he became the king as a person who would be God-fearing, who is the lover of the unity of God. So with reference to this biblical description of Cyrus, Hazrat Muslim has also concluded that he was not a worshipper of fire as some people believe. He was a true believer in unity, otherwise Bible could never have praised him. And he is being praised for his dedication to God and the people of God whom he would save from many calamities. So this is a Zulqarnain who went to one side, to the east and to the west, and covered both, and manifested his godly qualities in both directions. So this is the historical Zulqarnain. I cannot go into the full detail of all his journeys and what he did here and there. The central point is that Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Zulqarnain because he stood at the juncture of biblical teachings and the Quran. He stood at the juncture of the age of Ahl Kitab, including Jesus Christ, and the new era which he was to usher. That is the era of the Quran and the Islam. So two qarns are made to join together in him. As such, we see a reference in the Holy Quran which positively proves that this conclusion which I draw is not from my personal inclinations. This is clearly as has been stated in the Holy Quran. For instance, I remind you the incident when Moses is shown to walk along with his fatah. His fatah was Jesus Christ. And they go on a journey until they pass a rock by the side of the sea and go on and on into a territory in which they should not have gone. So suddenly Moses remembers the fish, the food, that is in fact an indicator of spiritual food. And he said, where is that food? So his fatah said, we left it behind by that rock, which we shouldn't have omitted. So they returned all the way back to the rock where they had lost their fish, that is the spiritual teaching of Allah or divine teaching which God had given them, but it had finished its age. So that was the dividing rock. And what do you see there? They see a godly person who leads them from then on to show them what is the new faith which has already been revealed. And then the story of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam begins from there. A man of extreme wisdom who is also referred to as Khizr by some people. A person who would never die. But it is not any other Khizr because such a thing does not exist. It is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who would never die and whose teaching was to be eternal. And then by one example and another he presents to them the events of the future which were to take place. And then he calls it a parting with them in the end. So these are all metaphorical expressions in which there is a deep teaching which covers many points. Number one, why was it that they should have stopped at the rock from where the new era was to begin? And as a symbol of that era, that divine person was standing over there. That is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it was a message to them that your teaching had ended here until it went into the sea. The fish they were carrying just dipped and went into the sea, which means that you had finished your teachings and it was no more. That was the end of it. And new era had begun with the advent of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So a lot can be said about this from different angles, but to be brief, as I said before, Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam is most certainly the Zulqarnain who joins the previous age with the new age. And the historical Zulqarnain is only a reminder of history that such a Zulqarnain did occur previously. While he was engaged largely in preventing oppressed people from the oppressor by creating walls, so also Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had created a metaphorical wall between the oppressors and the oppressed. And the answer to that was to come into the protection of Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his teachings. Those who rejected that, they suffered from the Dajjal and its evil influences. It's a very long story, but it is well connected. And the evidence of what I'm saying is found in the Quran itself. So that is as far as the age of the person of Rasulullah sallam is concerned. But he was to be represented by another Zulqarnain who was to be his perfect slave and spiritual son. That I believe is Hazrat Muslim alayhi salatu wassalam. Because he also stands at the juncture of two different ages. A new era begins with him, which is the era of Akhareen. So, great similarities can be found in him being a Zulqarnain, but a Zulqarnain to represent represent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his capacity of a Zulqarnain. So all ages are joined together under Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by the new efforts made in the same direction by Hazrat Muslim alayhi salatu wassalam. So there is positive evidence from his revelations and from some traditions about Hazrat Muslim alayhi salatu wassalam that he knew that he was also a Zulqarnain. 3 ages are covered by the Quran, and the eternity of the message of Rasulullah sallam is given a new boost for the coming age. So his being Zulqarnain becomes eternal till the day of judgment. No one is going to finish his era, which will be continuous. Hope you understand. If not, you understand from the translation.